Hi, new video. Today is Friday the 25th of December 2015, 21:31 hours CET. A very short little video here. Several things, not really pertaining much to one another. First, the situation with all of Virginia having deserted. I don't know, it's very hard to put into just a short few words. Let me skip forward. I recruited a new 12. Yesterday night I did. Let us just call the 12 the somewhat unknown victim. It's a rather passive recruiting in a certain way, which is why the details on the identity of that 12 need not really concern anybody other than mankind, and mankind will passively profit by the recruiting anyhow. The thing I do want to mention though is that thereby any ambiguity on the status of that 12 slot pertaining to Virginia, also specifically to the CIA, really it being in Virginia, is done away with. So just that there are no misunderstandings. Virginia deserted, I take note of that. And I just want to let the entire world know that a new 12 has been found. You know, whatever becomes of Virginia, whatever becomes of the CIA, they're still cordially invited to the fuck get themselves together. But not as number 12. So for the time being, I don't claim to know who all I might recruit in the future, but for the time being, no one and nothing in the USA is being recruited by mankind. That is that. A few other things. This is quite a change in topic. When they started using science fiction authors for all their shit, and there was a long time ago, someone, and I assume on the writer/editor side, had the great presence of mind to say, yeah, but please spare us one magazine that is not being utilized for mind-fucking and whatnot, because we have to get new blood in. And they chose a long time ago the Magazine of Fantasy and Science Fiction. In fact, the FSF and the little theatrical mask they had in their little logo and whatnot was worked to be, and the editorial that they used to do anyhow, all of that was worked into the FSF being spelled out as find and scratch flaws. The S might actually be another letter. There's a couple of words with S that would lend themselves to such a thing. What this thing did, the magazine, was it bred editors. I mean, hypothetically it would breed writers, but they're beyond even, it bred editors. And those were needed apparently. And I have been the editor non plus ultra for years and years. I just want to point that out as another little insight to the transatlantic little delusional shits over there. Go look it up in your files, that little passage where it says FSF being spared from the usual treatment of the rags. I am, as much as I'm the emperor of mankind of Games Workshop and whatnot, I am the editor, not just of the mag, as I call it, but of any goddamn other thing out there. So that was that topic. And another thing I want to point out is that this FSF conditioning is something working on me on everything. Find and scratch flaws. I am like the world's editor, so to speak. That is all playing into me being what I am. I just want to prove a little more to the bloody Americans that I ain't talking shit here. Next topic. I must admit that while I never really went much into pondering the deeper details of what exactly all the 16th did back to start World War II and keep it running, The little pondering that I had done previously was, I'm afraid, horribly Eurocentristic, and hence the European theater. And it wasn't until just now that I'm coming back from a walk. I was running around the bus a little, and I was pondering on how the European war ended with this horrendously badly scripted little bunker shit of Hitler and co. I mean, all the Nazis were completely created. See, the way it works was, in a nutshell, there came all by itself as a political fad, as a bit of a new concept, along something called fascism. And it was tried pretty much all over Europe, in fact maybe some other places in Europe, but the truth is it hardly ever caught on anywhere, because at the end of the day it's a pretty motard concept actually. I'm sorry, but it is. In fact, in Thailand it is almost forbidden, right, in the political scheme. I don't know if you bought it reading the document. If not, don't butt it. However, the 16th must have been very fond of it. Why? Because his problem was he had mind-fucking technology. Unfortunately, his problem was that he had a fucking democratic system with a parliament, House of Commons, House of Lords, and he would have had to fuck the minds of a whole lot of people. Whereas if he had had a system with just one Führer, whatever you'd bloody call that function, he would just have had to fuck one single mind. And democratically legitimized, it would be much more a one fucker only thing than any monarchy ever in the history of mankind had ever been. He did not want bloody monarchy back. I mean, you know, with any real powers. Oh no, he did not. He himself wasn't even royal. He was just first amongst one of the first amongst the peers, you call it. Then again, he must have had a few delusions about that, because otherwise he wouldn't hunt the queen and so on and so forth. But you know, I don't claim to be able to completely follow the rather unique thoughts that must have gone through the good 16th's head. But what I initially meant to wind up at, topic-wise, was the Pacific theater. The Nazis were basically, you know, fascism wouldn't have succeeded in Germany, period. He made it bloody succeed, and then took it from there. And we all know what happened. And we all know how grotesquely it was dragged on, and we all know how grotesquely badly scripted it ended, and so on and so forth. And that is that. That's the European theater. But it occurred to me that over in the Pacific theater, the role of Japan was even worse. Much more even than Germany. Japan was abused by the 16th in a manner that defies description. And the very interesting thing is that in Germany you had a situation that there was some retired Prussian soldiers, very professional soldiers, who probably didn't mind a new war. I mean, not that I would accuse them of wishing for one, but you know, they were professional soldiers, you know, and such occasionally would rather like to have a war. And the rest was some haters and a whole lot of intellect. And maybe he somewhat underestimated the 16th. What would happen if you force a world war along a people of intellect? Because loath as they might be to fight in a war, they would approach it best as they could, namely with a whole lot of intellect. And the entire, I'm not even sure how to put that, the entire blooming of the Nazis, especially also pertaining to the war effort, was only made possible because of the intellects. The 16th must have at some point realized, whoops, what happened here? But that is that. But in Japan, who were a very aspiring nation, they would have aspired and risen anyhow. I mean, if you go back even a little prior to, you know, just when these radio technology shit started happening, when the first crude shared mind was able to be pulled, they sicked them at Asia. So basically, the 16th got China. He didn't like China very much. He sicked the Japanese at China. And then, interestingly enough, he must have kept some of the US busy. How exactly the US played into this is still beyond me, because the thing is, he must have had an ally, so to speak, in the US. And this is one of the interesting things of this video here, because the rest of the world knows who the fuck is guilty when it comes to the former United Kingdom. You know that his direct offspring, his son Bonnie Fuckfuck, is still alive, that he had a son named Harry who's still alive, and so on and so forth. If they want to find the guilty ones over there, I bloody pointed them at them. I do not yet at all have a hint of who the fuck the 16th ally in America was. Which really poses, I just want to explain that, a bit of a nasty situation for fucking America, because they can't say, oh, he was the guilty one, you know, because they first have to find out who the fucking guilty one was, who collaborated with 16. So that is that, and back to Japan. And more badly scripted than the ending of the Nazis in a bunker is actually the ending of the Japanese, especially armed forces. With the Admiralty, their order to suicide. See, the thing is, it occurred to me all of a sudden, wait a minute, when you get attacked, you don't bloody surrender. I mean, when you get tactical nuclear strikes at you, you do not surrender. You would fight to the end of everything. And yet surrender is exactly what they did, and that is completely abnormal. Now, the way strategic and tactical nuking works is strategical nuking is basically annihilation for no other purpose. Tactical nuking really does not aim at the bloody people, it aims at the bloody infrastructure and everything else, but not at the bloody people. So, you know, what I'm trying to say is that when I want bits and pieces of the world nuked, then I do that with all the right in the world, and I do that understanding how nuking works. And really, the point is the strategical nuking, first and foremost. But in Japan, nobody bloody nukes strategically. They nuke tactically. Even back then, I don't give a rat's ass that the technology was new. Effects-wise, it was mere tactical nuking. Horrendous as the result was, yeah, and then not horrendous because it was two cities and that. The point I'm trying to make is that I am pondering recruiting someone, one of the next few recruitings around out of Japan, something of Japan, just because of the unspeakable extent to which, like no other nation on earth, Japan has been fucked up the ass by the 16th. More even than Germany. I would like to point that out. So there was that topic. So New 12 being recruited, the fine and scratch flaws being explained, and also how that works into everything else I do. When I watch a movie, its badness screams at me. When I read a newspaper, a journalist article online or in a newspaper, it's forged as it is these days, but still, it screams at me in its ignorance and whatnot. When I see a stupid traffic sign somewhere at the wrong place, really, because they mounted it bloody wrong, because they're bloody incompetent, then that physically hurts me. This editor, FSF, working on me is severe. And that too works into a whole lot of other things. And that too should explain to the fucking people in America that I am not delusional. And Japan explained. So basically he sicked the Germans at the Russians. He sicked the Japanese at the Chinese. I'm not sure what he was thinking of the Germans going at the French, because I fail to envision how the 16th would have had much of an issue with the French. I mean, you know, as I've taken them as a threat or something. Yeah, and I had a fourth topic, I think. What was the fourth topic? Well, I'll remember it. That was it for today.